devo dire che
Hey everyone, welcome to the show. Little bit of a, we're a little bit late, had some behind the scenes. We've got great internet except for in the room where Lisa is right now, so go figure. But I noticed as I'm looking at the chat, there are a lot of people here that, that are fans of the show, but aren't here like every week. So it was kind of cool. We got local preppers here, Liberated Ladies here. She finally got to make it. All American Preppers here. What's going on? Gabe is here.
Liberated lady.
Yep, Denise and Brandon and a bunch of people. So Texas Union, a lot of people here. At any rate, enough with all you guys. We are going to be talking tonight with Denise, with Lisa, and maybe Denise a little bit too. See, there's Denise. Hi, Lisa. At any rate, we're going to be talking with Lisa tonight. And this started off there. I wanted to do something for tinfoil hat time. And basically, sort of this whole show is going to be sort of a tinfoil hat time, although it's not really tinfoil hat.
Not
it's
anymore.
Like, what do you say about conspiracy theories? They're
You and Brian said this. You said that you were trying to come up with a title for it instead of saying it's a conspiracy theory. It's a spoiler alert. Because that's exactly what it is.
Yeah. So who knows how all of this, the whole 15-minute city thing and the 50 and 5 agenda that Bill Gates and the UN and the European Union are all trying to put together. We're going to talk about all that stuff. Who knows how that all comes together? But you know it's going to happen, right? You know that society, this whole digital control and all of this stuff is going to happen one way or another. And the yahoos that are in charge can't help but be tyrants. So what does that mean?
What I think is very interesting is how they're giving us like little glimpses of the future and how they're talking about, you'll own nothing and you'll like it. So they're putting us on that track, and they being the people that are quote unquote in charge. But they keep doing little things, and then they test things out, like COVID and all of that. The lockdowns, everything is a test.
201.
People respond, and then we'll just keep amping it up a little bit. So it's totally the frog in the boiling pot of water.
Yeah. And we'll get into this later, but the whole 15-minute city thing, even though we don't plan on living in a city, most of us listening to the show don't. It's still the tentacles. The things that are getting implemented that could affect us as well, and the whole World Economic Forum thing. So, local prepper said here, I'm in a bar, so I'm just here to boost the numbers. Yeah, hey, I appreciate it, LP. All right, so also in the show, towards the end, we are going to talk about some medical stuff. I want to talk a little bit about some fish antibiotics, the Lippincotts Drug Guidebook. I think it was AT in the group that had mentioned we should discuss it. Not that he doesn't know what it is, but sort of discuss. So I figured I'd photocopy a couple pages, and you can go over
very cool.
what information is in there that you can get out of them. So you picked one antibiotic, one like blood pressure medicine, and something else, right?
Yep, and Tylenol.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, acetaminophen. That's right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, okay. So what I want to do first, before we get into all that, though, also Scott had posted in the group, and I just thought this was interesting. So I want to show this tab because back when we started prepping, let me see if I can get this to the right size here. Back when we started prepping, it was like 1% of the population. I think it was like 3 million people considered themselves preppers, right? This article, Scott found that it's got new stats, new government data on preppers. And what they do here in this article is talk about, they don't necessarily call them preppers or whoever did this study, highly resilient citizens, so HRCs, ultra highly resilient citizens, which are preppers, right? And then resilient citizens. So in this chart right here, and I don't know if it's going to be hard to see. I don't even know if you can see it, Lisa, but I'll try to explain it. He's talking about during the COVID pandemic years, and what's interesting about this is the numbers didn't really go up as far as resilient citizens, prepper, or they did for resilient citizens, but they didn't go up for preppers all that much. I've got the links to this in the show notes as well. But what he talks about is the preppers, the people that were, I think what this is saying anyway, is the people that were in the middle of the road went to the prepping side of it. And then any sort of disaster, the pandemic, or you got the Putin thing, any sort of thing like that boosts the numbers for a short period of time for those really the blue ones here, which are the resilient citizens, which is the people that go out to the store, stock up on some food and, things like that. Right. So I think it's pretty interesting. What I think is interesting, and I want to get your thoughts on this. This is saying right here that the preppers, the ultra highly resilient citizens, is 2.8%. So when we first started, that was 1%. Now in 10 whatever years, I mean, it was a couple of years that you got me into preparedness, and then a couple of years after that we got online. But is that sort of, with all the things that are going on in the world today, is that like sort of the number that you expect, or does it seem pretty low to you? Because to me, it seems like that's a lot of sleeping people out there.
Yeah, but I think I think it seems low, but at the same time, I think it shows how much people, they don't want to rely on themselves. They want to rely on somebody else to help them. They because it's harder if you have to do it on your own. So maybe that's why. I know when COVID was going on and they had everything happening, a lot of people that I work with were actually coming up and saying, what do you think about this? What do you think about this? And you could see that they were really thinking about getting into preparedness. So I think, from my own perspective, seeing people out in the world like that I see every day that used to laugh at me, now they're coming to me saying, what do you think? What do you think? And I'm like, well, what's going to work best for you? But I saw a huge increase just in the people that I work with, like, on a daily basis. And they're still that way today. And I think they've actually really embraced it, which is awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. Hey, and just so everyone knows out in the chat, I know a lot of people do know, but Lisa's wearing her sling right there because that's the only way I could get her on the show was I had to break her arm. And I'm totally just kidding, by the way. She had, what did you have, rotator cuff surgery?
Yes.
Yeah. So I'm Plan B preppers here. And nice to see you, Plan B. I'm the designated, I'm the gopher, basically. I'm the driving Miss Daisy. I'm the horse poop picker upper. I'm the I'm Lisa's second and third hand, basically. So
yeah, Dale, you're my prepping army right now because there's not a lot I can do.
Yeah. All American prepper here. He said, oh, I sympathize, Lisa. That was wrong. The chat jumped on me. He said, thought she had a gun. Yeah, she's strapped in her art room. You never know what happens in an art room. All right. So I don't know. I mean, I guess it's not surprising, I suppose, because people, like you were talking about, your friends at work and things like that, they talk to you about it and they don't just poo-poo you off. But then 2 months later, it just doesn't matter anymore, right? Life is good. Life is back to normal. Everything's fine. And I think people just don't want to, if they're prepping, if they're doing things, if they're buying extra food, they're thinking about it. And I think people just do not want to think about it.
Well, it's
they want to go about their daily lives.
Yeah, because that's going to put a kink in what they want to do. It's, oh, am I going to be able to go to the concert this weekend? I'd rather go to the concert than stock up, get an extra week's worth of food. But personally, I'm not going to go to any concerts. I'm not going anywhere where there's a bunch of people.
Yeah. Scott said sleeping, you're dead to the world. Yeah. There's a combination. There are definitely those that are just completely just out of it and don't even see and willfully don't even see anything going on. And those people you just can't help. So Lisa's got her, Scott said, you got your concealed carry cannon.
This is a big one.
Yeah. So, all right, enough with that. What I want to talk about now is the 15. Do you want to talk about the 1550 or the 15-minute cities? Because we were listening. We went to your therapy the other day, and you had me listen to Clyde Lewis. And this was, I've said this before, most of his shows are batshit crazy. This one, he made a lot of sense, and he was talking about what the plans could be for 15-minute cities, this agenda 50 and 5 and things like that. So what do you want to start on, or where do you want to start? And we can go from there.
I like the 15-minute cities because there actually is a small one, and I don't remember if he talked about it in that episode or not, but there's one, and I believe it's in Arizona, and it's called Cul-de-sac. And they're actually—
He did talk about it, yeah.
They're trying something like that, and it's like, yeah, I don't think I'd be interested in that at all. But a 15-minute city is everything that you can get everywhere in that city in 15 minutes. So everything that you need is right there. So you don't necessarily have to travel outside of your city limits to get to any service that you could potentially need. That's the draw to having a 15-minute city. You work within that city, your doctors are within that city, everything is right there. Or if you, let's say, like for me, for example, that I work out of the 15-minute city, well, then I would have to telecommute because I wouldn't be, basically, you're not allowed to have a car.
Yeah, and that's the catch, because everything you just said right there, I want to play this video real quick and pay attention to the keywords they always use with any time they're talking about this stuff. And I'll go over this article a little bit too, but basically everything you just said, and then pay attention to the inclusivity, all these keywords that they say to make everything sound like sunshine and roses. And to me, there's possibility in there, because tyrants will be tyrants, for this to be completely digitally controlled, your every move. If you won't be able to own a car in the city anyway, but everything you do will be tracked, your carbon footprint, all of that different crap. And in this article, before I play this video too, he talked about in the beginning, and we were talking about conspiracy theory and spoiler alert. In this, he talks about how this is, and it's absolutely true, this is the way they will shut you down. If you're getting too close to the answer, this is how they shut you down. And if you are one of those people that are, if you're one of those people, you're like, oh, I don't want to be one of those conspiracy theorists, so I can't believe this because I was told to by the government. And it would be a Karen Wonderland. No kidding. Yeah. But I don't want to be one of those crazy ass conspiracy theorists, right? So I can't believe that that's going to go on. And, who knows how this all turns out? Like I said in the beginning, I don't know exactly how this is going to turn out, but it's not going to be like they put right here in this video. Let me play this real quick. Let me see what happens when I put this on full screen.
Before the recent lockdowns around the world, we led hectic lives with long commutes and not enough time to spend with our families and friends. Traffic polluted our air and smog blanketed our skylines.
What if it could be different? What if we could create a new normal where we reclaim our time, our health and well-being, and our communities?
This is the idea behind the 15-minute city. A growing movement to make our lives in cities more convenient, less stressful, and more sustainable.
Ding, ding.
A 15-minute city is one where everything we need is close to home, where communities are safe and inclusive,
ding, ding,
where
ding.
the air is clean.
A 15-minute city is one where it's easy to get goods and services. Fresh groceries, healthcare, and other amenities are all just a short trip away. A 15-minute city is one where everyone has a place.
A 15-minute city has affordable, accessible, and adaptable housing for households of all sizes
Ding, ding,
and
ding, ding.
ages.
A 15-minute city means that you can work close to home or work remotely more often.
And
lock you
we
down.
all play a role in our neighborhood.
What if we don't go back to life as it was? What if we already have the power to change how we live? Together, we can reimagine and create the future we want. One that is cleaner, safer, healthier, and more inclusive.
Ding, ding,
and
ding,
gives
ding,
us
ding,
back
ding.
valuable time to enjoy the little things.
Doesn't that sound awesome?
That sounds horrible.
Yeah, that's like telling one section of the story, because for people who live in the cities, that's probably sort of like they would like to live right now, right? But when you talk about a 15-minute city, you're talking about mandatory crap. These people like Bill Gates and the UN, they don't want us to be able to make the decisions. And if we do, they want there to be consequences if we make the wrong decisions, right? The whole carbon footprint, global warming crap. They want us to pay the price for that. That way corporations can keep doing what they're doing. I mean, you think about the whole, if you buy into the whole climate change thing, is it really the guy driving the smart car that's doing a big, doing a lot of, or the guy driving the SUV doing a lot of damage? Or is it the factories in China, the mass production, the consumer economy, all that stuff? That's what it is. But they can't stop the money machine. And I understand that a little bit as far as economies and all that. So who takes the brunt of that? The people, right?
The people
So
do.
we're going to lock y'all down.
Because they're not going to give up their rights. They're not going to, the people that are in charge, the Bill Gates of the world, they're not going to give up their power. They're not going to give up their rights. They're not going to go live in those 15-minute cities. They're going to live, 50 miles away from that in this huge compound.
Yeah, they won't be there.
No.
And that brings up another thing. We won't either. And I want to get into that. But Jammer said, it sounds like the best prison experience ever. And that's where my reservations with all this come in, because all of that sounds fantastic. Most of that sounds like BS to me, because it is more about controlling, being able to gather data, being able to know where everyone is at any given moment, and being able to control what you buy, control what you spend. And when you think about the digital, the CBDB and all that stuff that is one way or another coming in the future, and you've got these tyrants that absolutely just want to be able to, you've got the 3-letter alphabet agencies that any sort of thing they can use to make their job easier, they're going to do it. You've got the government that anything they can do to keep people under the boot, they're going to do it. Yeah. Scott said, just get on the train. Sort of. And that's sort of, maybe it doesn't turn out like that, but the potential for it to, like, if, just like the laws that are on the books right now, I see it this way. The laws that are on the books about what the government can do in an emergency situation, when martial law is declared, that would probably never happen. But if it had to, they could. This is the same type of situation to me, where if they had to, they could completely lock the doors. Everyone's inside. They know where everyone is. They have access to all the food. They have access to your money. They have access to everything. So you'll own nothing and be happy sort of situation. That's what it sort of seems like to me with this, or where it could go.
Well, it just seems like that's the direction they want it to go. And it's not just here, it's everywhere. They've actually trialed these 15-minute cities in different places. I think there was a place in England they did it. And the people there weren't very happy about it. They actually went and ripped out the barriers. They had these big metal barriers, and the people went and ripped them out. So they're like, no, we're not doing this.
Yeah. Yeah, and that it'll just depend. But it's that frog in the boiling pot of water thing you talked about, right? Because people will slowly, it'll just become part of life. And granted, there's a lot of it that is just going to happen one way or the other. I think it's sort of like AI. It's a matter of how it gets implemented and by who and what they do in the meantime, while it's getting put into place. Because a lot of this stuff is coming. Life is going to change like crazy just in the next 10 years, I think, with the way we do things. And there's nothing we can do to stop it, but we can control it. Well, I don't know if we can control a damn thing anymore, but you'd like to think that we could control what they do and what they can do, what they're allowed to do. But more and more these days, the Constitution is a piece of toilet paper. And you see Bill Gates going to the UN and the European Union because it's easier to get done over there. It's easier to do all this stuff. Which leads me to show this right here. That way people know what the heck I'm talking about. But this leads me to the whole 50 and 5 agenda, which is a lot of the stuff that we were talking about right here. And the 50 and 5 agenda, and I didn't even know about this until we listened to that Clyde Lewis show.
See, Clyde Lewis is good, isn't he, Dale?
We basically just said, he was talking about his little apartment where they're getting everything up to code because they're going to make, they're going to price people out, basically. I'll go through this in a second, but I just remembered this thought. What he was saying in that was they're making these owners of apartment buildings, these landlords, the people that own their homes, upgrade to the standards that are going to be set, right, for sustainability and all that.
The zero carbon is what they're saying. That's what everything is changing because you got to have zero carbon emissions.
Yeah. Hey, Kentucky Goat Man, thanks for joining in. He said he's going to leave the chat, but he's still going to listen in. But yeah, and he was talking about how they're doing that stuff, and eventually what that's going to lead to is higher rents, and they're going to get priced out of being able to live there. And he was already in an inner city, which he thinks is going to turn into a 15-minute city. If you're in the suburbs, this is where I think this makes more sense. If you're in the suburbs, you live in an apartment, you live in a house, they're going to make it to the point where you're priced out of being able to live there. And you have to go inside the city, right? You have to go inside one of these 15-minute cities because you're just not going to be able to afford living outside. And then what's going to happen, and I think he mentioned this, but this is what I think is going to happen. Companies like BlackRock and Vanguard are going to buy up those properties that those people can't afford to live in anymore. And all of a sudden, that 15-minute city expands into a bigger 15-minute city. And then you're at where, the Hunger Games type situation.
Yeah, then we all have our districts. But yeah, he was talking about that and saying how what they're doing, and they're doing this in the UK right now, is they're instituting these new laws as far as like what he was talking about in his own city, because he lives, I think he's in Portland, but they're making people,
good Lord,
they're making people upgrade all of their like roofs and stuff and do all of these things. And if you can't do it, then you get fined. And what's happening is people are losing their homes because they can't afford to do all of these quote unquote improvements that will make them, be sustainable or whatever their reasoning is behind it. So that's when BlackRock and Vanguard go in, or companies like that, and then they buy up these properties. So then those companies have all of those properties, and then we have nothing.
Yeah, that's how BlackRock got to be where they are right now. Back during the housing crisis, all those people that got subprime loans and failed, got foreclosed on, BlackRock bought all that crap up and banked on it. And now basically BlackRock, Vanguard run the world. And that's sort of what this article sort of goes into as well, is talking about how these days the lines are really blurred between corporations and government. Because it's not like it used to be where people hated corporations, and the Democrats used to just bash on corporate, the corporations and all that. These days, it's the complete opposite. It's almost a hand-in-hand thing, and it's intentional. You look at what the World Economic Forum wants to do with what do they call it? I can't remember what they call it right now, but what the World Economic, it's all about money. It's all about corporations running the show and the government sort of being a part of it, I suppose. In this article right here, they talk about the United Nations. This is the 50 in 5 campaign, and I've got all the links to these below. And this is from All News Pipeline. Take it for what it is. It's just an article that goes through some of the bullet points that we want to talk about. But it says on November 8, 2023, a virtual branch event took place termed the 50 in 5 agenda. The United Nations bill. Let me see if I can put this on full screen so people. Well, that's as big as I can get it right now. Anyway, the United Nations Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation and partners from the Rockefeller Foundation are launching a campaign to accelerate digital ID, digital payments, and data sharing rollouts in 50 countries under the umbrella of Digital Public Infrastructure, DPI, by 2028. DPI basically is all-encompassing we want access to every, you think back to the days when we were talking about our Samsung refrigerators collecting data on us or listening to what we were talking about. That like the good old days, right? I mean, that's nothing. Or the NSA and Snowden and all that. And now they're going to have access to everything.
Well, don't you remember?
Want.
I was listening to Clyde Lewis. This is probably 5 or 6 years ago. And I was telling you that he was talking about one day there's going to be universal basic income. So every single person is going to get a check. And you laughed at me. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I still don't see that might get implemented. I just don't see how. I just can't wrap my brain around how that would work. But if we're all slaves,
they just print money.
Yeah, I guess if we're all slaves to the system, we don't own cars, we don't own anything, and they're going to feed us as long as we're good little slaves. Then it's going to be okay. But if we're those outcasts like most of us preppers are that live outside the city, what happens then? You have a comment pin. What is that?
Oh, that's from Liberated Lady. Let me get to that one.
Okay, I just did it.
Oh, you did it. Okay.
She said, "What's the name of that show?"
Yeah, that's
I'd like to listen.
Clyde Lewis. It's Ground Zero. He actually is behind a paywall now, so you have to pay for it. But if you go to, I think it's aftermath.media, they actually play old shows, but it has commercials in it. So, but yeah, it's Clyde Lewis, Ground Zero. I like him.
Yeah, back in the old days, we used to, whenever I drive around somewhere with Lisa, it was Alex Jones that was on in the car. These days, it's Clyde Lewis. And I, honestly, I don't know which one is crazier.
You don't know which one is better? Is that what you said?
Yeah, which one is better? Yeah. I forgot where we were on that, though. There was something you were mentioning about 15-minute cities that I was going to mention as well, but unless you remember what you're talking about, I'm just going to move on.
Move on, because I don't remember.
Okay. So with this article, it talks about all the things that they're going to be able to do under this umbrella of DPI and what this 50 in 5 agenda basically they want to accomplish. And they're using countries like some in Africa, they're using the European Union, all of these as sort of canaries in the coal mine to see how this stuff works out. And I guarantee you that's because it would be a super pain in the butt to get that done here in the United States without or there's going to be less pushback in the European Union. So we're talking about a social credit system to push for digital public infrastructure, which includes digital ID, vaccine passports, and central bank digital currencies, is being championed by the globalists WEF, the World Economic Forum, and unsurprisingly backed by Bill Gates along with the UN and the European Union. The Sociable editor, Tim Ratcliffe, says, and Sociable is a really cool website. I like it. And what they're saying over there is advocates are adamant that DPI is essential for participating in markets and society. So in order to participate in society, you're going to have to do this. You're going to have to, follow along with the rules. And with that, it brings up with the World Economic Forum, one of the articles they wrote, the whole "you'll own nothing and you'll love it." Yeah, you've heard that, right?
Yeah.
In that article, one of the things, this kind of goes into what I was just talking about. One of the closing paragraphs of that whole article, the biggest concern is all the people who do not live in the cities, those that have lost their way. Those who just decide that it's all become too much. I've lost my place here. All this technologies, those who felt obsolete and useless when robots and AI took over big parts of our jobs, those who got upset with this political system and turned against it. I think that is the main point right there. Screw all the other stuff. They live different kinds of lives outside of the city. Some have formed little self-supplying communities. Others just stay in empty and abandoned houses in small 19th century villages. Doesn't sound really bad to me, honestly.
No.
Once in a while, I get annoyed by the fact that I have no real privacy, nowhere I can go and not being registered. I know that somewhere, everything I do, think, dream is recorded. I just hope that nobody uses it against me. And I think they were that little last part may be a little bit of irony or second guessing it, but I that's exactly how it's going to be when that, when you do own nothing, when you are controlled, everything you do and say is controlled by the system. I mean, you think people are dependent on the system now. Wait till the system is all you have. There are going to be communities, I will be one of them if it comes to that in the next 20 years, that lives as one of those quote unquote outcasts of society. And I'll absolutely love it. Yep. There's a lot of us, most people listening to the show would be absolutely the same damn way.
As long as they leave us
alone. The problem
alone.
with that, what's that?
As long as they leave us alone.
Yeah, that's where I was going. The problem with that is they will price you out of self-sufficiency. They will make it almost impossible. If you can't drive, or if you're getting taxed on how much you drive out here in the boonies, there's a lot of driving. Yeah, I mean, you got to go 15 minutes just to get to the damn grocery store. Some places, some people live even further than that, where it's an hour to get to the grocery store. How much is that going to cost? They're trying to, it's almost the same type of thing they're trying to do with ammunition and things like that in Texas, where they just make it so outrageous that you can't even buy it. That's sort of the same type of situation. So just because we won't live in those 15-minute cities doesn't mean we're not going to be affected by those things. And they're still going to implement as much as they can all that data tracking and all the things. I mean, we're still on the internet. So it is going to affect us regardless. My whole point, whether we live in there or not. And as much as we try to stay away from it, I don't know that it's going to be a possibility.
Probably not, but I'm going to fight it as long as I can.
Yeah. My whole thing though is our grandbaby, right? She's grandbabies, but I'm thinking Corey's daughter, when she gets to his age, maybe, and Corey, our other kids, they're going to see how things used to be and see how things have changed, and they're going to understand that. She's going to grow up in this environment, and she's not going to know what it was like when America was cool, right? when America really was the land of freedom, right. The land of the free. So, and the people are just going to be accepting of all those things, accepting of. It's not going to be a loss of freedoms for them like it is for us,
right? Because they don't know any different. Yeah.
They're talking about feed too in there too. Yeah, if you've got animals that you're trying to upkeep, shoot, if you got cows, your social credit score is going way down at that point. If you got cows and livestock and stuff like that, you're not eating bug sandwiches or whatever. What was Clyde Lewis calling it the other day with chicken McNuggets or something?
Chicken McBuggets or something.
Cricket McBuggets.
Yeah. Well, because Tyson just announced that they're building a new facility, a new meat processing plant. And I can't remember if it's going to be here in Colorado or where it is, but it's basically a meat processing plant that's going to be able to incorporate things such as crickets and mealworms and stuff into different foods. So like a lot of times the chicken McNugget or McBuggets, that's what they're going to be. They're not going to be chicken. They're going to be made out of bugs. Yeah.
Brandon brought up a comment which sort of makes sense. Is if you're driving everywhere, how quote unquote self-sufficient are you? Which is sort of true, but at the same time, it's impossible to be 100% self-sufficient these days, and there are things you just need. Now, you think about some sort of Mad Max type situation, right? You'd figure out ways, or 15-minute city dystopian nightmare type situation we got going on here today. You'd figure things out fairly quickly, or you wouldn't be around that long, because you wouldn't be able to drive. So you'd have to adapt and change, right? There are certain things you could do, and there are people, all American prepper in there, probably, wouldn't phase him one bit. Also, there would be some adaptability. You got horses; they'd have to, we got 1.5 horses.
Yeah.
So
Al Capone, I don't think you could ride him. Well,
not very far anyway.
Trained to pull a cart, so we just got to get a harness, and we'll figure out how to get him doing a cart.
Yeah. But you would have to figure out those things, the driving and things like that. And you would have to basically adapt to that lifestyle because I think in a situation like that, if it comes to this, and this is, who knows where it goes, this is the World Economic Forum vision of you'll own nothing and love it. If it does come down to something like that, you're going to adapt, and they're not going to do you any favors to help you. They're going to be pushing you as much as possible in that city, right? So they're going to do everything they possibly can, and maybe even like eminent domain crap. I mean, that happens these days. What's the next iteration of eminent domain? You're going to the camp and you're going to like it. Yeah, blame all that. I don't know that guy. I'll tell you what. For as smart as that dude is,
he's smart, isn't he? You even said that. You're like, wow, he does a lot of research. Yeah,
he's very intelligent, but he is, and maybe it's intentional, but he's out there with some of this paranormal crap and all that stuff. And then this is totally off topic, but then he gets some of the people that listen to his show, like you. Although compared to those people, you are normal. You're way down the batshit crazy scale than some of those people. But some of those people talk. That's the most interesting part of the show when I listen to that, because I'm just like, oh my Lord, call preppers crazy. At least we're rational and we make sense about things. At least you can, when we talk about food stores or something like that, at least you can talk about, okay, I can understand why. I don't know that it's something to worry about, but I can understand why. When those people on there talk, it's just like, holy Lord, could you imagine going to Thanksgiving dinner with this woman or this man and having to sit at the table and listen to that gibberish coming out of their mouth?
Imagine that. Some of those calls that were coming in when we were actually listening, there's no way.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's just, I mean, we'll see where all this stuff goes. I know that one way or another, a lot of this stuff is going to come. It's just a matter of how it's implemented. The digital currency is coming. The government can't not do that. And I think the global economy can't not do that, as far as westernized nations and all. And that's another thing with this. What does that all, once Bill Gates and the UN and all them have all this stuff, the westernized nations under this digital currency and stuff, does that make more of a split between the countries that aren't? China will have the same type of thing, but maybe not included, even though they're part of the UN. Russia's part of the UN. But are they going to all join in? And probably, because they're all tyrants, right?
Yeah, so they're all gonna make money off of this. They're all gonna get rich off of this. And so they're pretty much getting rid of the middle class. There's going to be the peasant class, and then there's going to be them, the elite. So the middle class is what they're trying to get rid of. And that's all of this, the 15-minute cities, the 50 and 5, all of those programs, that's what they're aimed toward doing, is getting rid of the middle class people. And then there's going to be the peasants, and then the rulers, I guess.
Which is the corporations, right, that basically control the government. That's what the World Economic Forum wants. They want governments there to control the slaves, basically. They want the government there to do that, but they want to control the government. And you could even say that they control the government right now. When you talk about lobbyists and things like that. I mean, they already do.
Right.
But the World Economic Forum wants, and I can't remember what these are called, but they're, different segments, like the UN is one, and different organizations that all have a say on how things will go, how things are going to come together. And that pesky Constitution really gets in the way of that right now. So that's something that's going to have to be solved before that. That's why it's easier to do it in Europe. So right. Yeah, I think you're looking at, that's why the ESGs and all that, and corporations are trying to change the image where people think they're these greedy corporations. Now they're trying to change their image to make people think that they're the good guys, right? We have your best interests at heart. We're helping you. We're doing this stuff for you. Meanwhile, behind the scenes, they're making sure that they're not getting penalized for the carbon crap, that it's, or as much anyway, but it's us. It's the people down here that are eating hamburgers, the people down here that are driving SUVs, that, all of that is the bigger issue. Meanwhile, corporations are going to continue to make money. They've got people in the right place to make sure that they continue to make money. The politicians are going to continue to make money off of them. So It just seems like it's the direction everything's going. And if I don't know, I just don't know that there's enough. Maybe there is maybe enough resistance for something to change that whole attitude. But I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what it would take, because I don't think the people of today are anything like how they were like when even like the Civil War and stuff took place. I mean, I just don't think that people are of the same mindset that they were when this country was originally founded.
Yeah, half asleep.
Mm-hmm.
It seems like
it. They like it that way.
Yeah. Brandon brought up a good point here. He said peasants don't live in 15-minute cities. Happy little producers live in 15-minute cities, and the poor live in the sticks. That reminds me of it. You had the Hunger Games on TV today, and I couldn't tell you, I couldn't tell you exactly what that movie's all about, but I do know when I see them in the city on the stage, and the city acts one way, and then you've got the outside. This is sort of the same exact thing that Brandon was talking about. As long as you're playing the game, as long as you're one of those upper class, as long as you're a producer and all that stuff, then you're in the city and you are taken care of. Everything is good. Life is good, right? But if you're not, then you're in the sticks. You're on the outside, and that's exactly, Hunger Games is. When that movie first came out, I'd have never thought that I would say that it's sort of prophetic in some of the things that it's been saying, but it kind of is, right? I mean, there's truth in there's a little bit of truth in all of the movies and everything that they put out. Just seems like that one in 50 years could be closer to reality than they ever thought, or maybe they did. Maybe they did think. You'd think that preppers write some of these movies. That's conspiracy theorists. Spoiler alerters.
Yeah, that's right. Spoiler alerters.
Yeah. All right. So, Brandon actually brought up a good point here too, and then we're going to move on. But it sounds like the oligarchy is the problem, not government. How do we combat that? I don't know. I don't know if we do, because how do you? I mean, honestly, you can vote. Well, we're told we can vote people out and do things like that, but when it's behind the scenes, when it is that, the deep state, I suppose, all of the things behind the scenes that are really running the show that we have no clue about. How do you combat that? And as long as people are happy, as long as people are fed, I don't think it gets combated at all until it until it goes basically like Rome and it completely shits the bed. And then everything falls apart and they have to rebuild and that becomes a different Rome. Kentucky Goatman said, love the Hunger Games. Yeah, honestly, when that movie first came out, I was like, oh, what is this crap? Because that was right after the whole Twilight crap. And I was real hesitant. I was gun shy at that point.
We should go see this one, the new one that just came out, or that's coming out in a week or so. Or wait, I think it's coming out Friday.
Yeah, isn't that one without Jennifer Lawrence though? So
what it is it's
totally
like
different cast.
So it's like when President Snow. So the idea is to make people like President Snow, who he's the bad guy in the Hunger Games.
Yeah. It'll be interesting. Like I said, when I first watched that movie, I had this bad, I had a bad taste in my mouth because of the whole Twilight crap 100 times in a row. So I was like, oh, great, another one of those. And then I watched, I don't know how long later it was, like 6-8 months or so. And I was like, okay, that's not terrible. And then you start to get into the little nuances of it. And you're like, that's, I could see society turning out like that. I could totally see it.
I think you would really enjoy the books because the books are a lot more detailed, and I think they're better. It usually always seems like it goes that way, that the books are better than the movies anyway.
Yeah. Jim said in the chat too, Divergent. And I thought the same thing about Divergent, but they do have that undertone of that separating people, right? That this class and that class, and you're this and you're that, and this is how you're going to get. This is the box you're going in, and it's all the same damn thing. Yeah, that's what they have to do with us in order to keep us under control and maintain us. I think so. It's going to be an interesting decade or two. I will say that because. For our kids and grandkids, our kids maybe, but our grandkids maybe not so much because this is all they're going to know. For us, we're going to look back to like the 80s and think about how things used to be, and then think about how things are now, and it's going to be like, it's going to be crazy. We were watching, what was that the TV show we were watching? 40 years old, Family Ties.
Yeah, it was Family Ties.
Yeah, you think back to then and how there were like 5 different TV shows. It's interesting. 40 years ago, you think about a show 40 years ago when we were that age. You're talking about the Honeymooners. And we knew what the Honeymooners was because there was only 5 things you could watch. These days, there's a million things. But you look at, local prepper in here said, be ungovernable. Yeah, that's really, the only thing you really can do, and who knows if that's enough anyway, but yeah, choose that path anyway. But my whole point was, we see things, how they've changed over the course of our lifetime, and we're going to see that big picture. Some of these people aren't going to see that big picture, the younger ones. And
a lot of them won't, because they don't know. They will have never experienced what we did while we were growing up, because this is all they know.
Yeah, exactly. And they're going to accept it until they start taking away more and more and more. And they're going to be like, this is horrible.
But are they? Some of them will probably be like, okay, it doesn't seem any different than, what it was. So they'll be like, okay.
Yeah. So very interesting. I think I mentioned this at the beginning of the show, but we're going to get into this Lippincotts a little bit. And then if anybody has any questions about wound care, anything in Lisa's wheelhouse, don't ask about, removing an appendix or anything like that, because she's not going to know. But if you have any questions about wound care and stuff, we'll try to save that comment and we'll go through it after we talk about this Lippincotts drug guidebook. But explain what this book is. We've talked about it a few times, and I've got a couple of pictures that I took and you're going to explain how it works.
Too.
But
what this is really cool. And yes, this is old. This is 2005, but this is when you go to school to become a nurse, that's one of the first things that you have to get. Like for your classes, is you get a drug guidebook. And the reason you get it is so that you can learn about the drugs that you're going to potentially be giving to a patient. But this is so awesome to have just for, I don't know how my camera is, but this is so nice to have just for anybody, because it doesn't just have prescription drugs in it. It has every drug. So like Dale was saying, acetaminophen, that is one of the drugs that's in it. It talks about the thing that's nice about having a book like this is it's a book. It's book form. So you don't have to worry that the internet's going to go down or anything like that, because you have the physical book. But let's see. Can you bring up like the acetaminophen one, Dale? That page?
Yeah, I'm trying to bring up the website, but it's not letting me. But this book, I'll bring that up. This book, you don't have to get the newest version, right? This is a 2005 that we have.
Yeah.
And we probably should get a newer one, but.
Yeah. And you can actually find these online. They're super, super, super cheap. So like if you get an older one, if you get a new one, it's probably like between $65 and $100 for the latest version, but a lot of it's going to be the same. But like, just as an example, if you look at where it has the name of the drug, acetaminophen, it tells you how to say it, tells you the different types of medication that it can be given. So it can be a suppository, oral, and the different names. It tells you what kind of class of drug it is. It's a antipyretic, so it's going to reduce fever. The actions, indications, which is when you would give it, contraindications, and so many different things. And that is just one drug. That's Tylenol. So,
the next one you've got is an antibiotic, right?
I think so. Is that the Zyvox?
Zyvox, yes.
Yeah, the Linzolid. So Linzolid is an antibiotic, but again, it tells you therapeutic actions, indications when you would use it, the available forms, dosage for adults, for kiddos, adverse reactions, contraindications. So it has this with all A to Z drugs. And what's really interesting, I didn't realize that Linzolid had been out for so long, the Zyvox, that is a really good antibiotic for different bacteria that is resistant to a lot of antibiotics. So Zyvox or Linzolid, you can actually use for vancomycin resistant enterococcus. I think that's what it is. And then MRSA. And I'm pretty sure everybody knows what MRSA is, methicillin resistant Staphylococcus aureus. That's the drug that everybody's like, oh my God, you have MRSA. So something like this, Zyvox, that will that can actually kill that bacteria where most antibiotics can't anymore.
Yeah. Well, and what's cool about this is that if you're looking at, and there was a comment about antibiotics a minute ago, and we're going to talk a little bit about that. But if you are, say you do have those, or you do have medication that you need, it tells you what it's going to do, right? It tells you some of the precautions. It tells you all of the information. You don't, my whole point is you don't have to be a nurse or a doctor to understand a lot of the stuff, right?
No.
Other than the words, like unless you're me.
Book. I mean, I think I got this one on eBay. I think it was like $5 or something. For that.
Yeah. Let me see if I can. I gotta. This is a little wonky here, but there we go. This is eBay right now. The site finally pulled up. So the 2019 version, $5. The 2002 version, $10. Like I said, ours is a 2005, which maybe we need to. I don't know why that 2002 is $17, but there are new drugs, but it doesn't necessarily mean that you have to have the latest. Like every year, you've got to buy a new Lippincott drug guidebook, right?
No, yeah. So
especially for antibiotics and things like that.
Yeah, and most antibiotics, I don't think they've made a new antibiotic since it's been, oh my God, it's been a long time since they've come out with a new antibiotic. It seems like all of the new drugs that they're coming out with, there's like Ozempic and all the things that they show on TV that everybody's like, oh, I got to have those because I'm fat and I got to lose weight, so I need Ozempic. Or, I mean, just, all of the medications that the pharmaceutical companies are pushing on the public. But so those aren't going to be in here because those are more recent. But I mean, for all of your basic drugs, like high blood pressure medications, over-the-counter medications, all of those are in the books, especially if you get one, say, maybe 5 years old. I think it's a good investment. And if you're bored and you want something to read, this is actually pretty entertaining to read. Dale was picking medications out. He's like, pick out a couple medications. So I'm sitting there looking at it. I'm like, oh, look at that. Oh, I didn't know it interacted with that. So, and I don't know, I might be weird, but I think it's enjoyable.
Yeah. Well, both can be true at the same time.
Yeah, that's true.
Diver, super chat, $5. Thanks, Diver. He said, thanks, Lisa and Dale.
Thanks, Diver.
Yeah. Appreciate that, Diver. And he's the one that asked that question about the antibiotics. And I hopefully you stick around, Diver, because I've got my article, an old article, and I want to go over a couple of those. But we've got one more in here, and I believe this is Lisapril. I don't know how to say this. Lisinopril, yes.
That's blood pressure medication.
So this is what you take, right?
That is what I take. But I take lisinopril, hydrochlorothiazide, which is a combination.
Okay. And in this book, I'm trying to see here. It's hard for me to see this, but it says the indication. It says how often. Does it say how often you're supposed to take it and what you're supposed to do? Does it give you all that information
treatment
that you wouldn't normally know from going to the doctor?
Adjunctive therapy, contraindications, available forms. It tells you like the initial dose, because then you have to be careful, because if you have your creatinine clearance for your kidneys, if somebody has low creatinine clearance or high, I get them mixed up. But then you start with a lower dose, but then it does give the typical doses. It also tells you the route. So this, obviously, lisinopril is an oral drug. Its onset, so when it starts working, is an hour. The peak of it is 7 hours, and the duration is 24 hours.
Yeah. And it's not like, I think about this book, and it's not like you're going to run across a whole bunch of pills. It's not going to be like The Walking Dead, where you run into a pharmacy, grab a whole lot of bottles, right? Although in that book, there are pictures, right, of what some of the pills look like. I was looking at that.
Let me show you.
What? You'll have to pull up Brandon's comment when you're done.
That was pretty funny. Yeah, in the center of the book, it actually shows you the pills of what they look like.
Hey, that may be good for like if you have teenagers and stuff, right?
Where is
these days? Prescription meds are the popular ones.
Is the roofie on here? How about the Percocet? Oh yeah.
Is it really?
No, I don't know. I didn't even look. I'm sure it is.
Yeah, I bet you they are. So yeah, I mean, but in it, let's say it is some sort of Walking Dead type situation. I'm not going to say never, like you never have a chance to find medications or something like that. You're talking about a really bad situation, but the odds are it's going to be medicines you already take. It's medicines that maybe you do have friends that come over and you want to research a little bit. It's just a good book to have. It's low priced. You put it on your shelf and it's just a good reference to have. It's especially important with antibiotics, which we're going to talk about here a little bit. I wanted to put that comment you were talking about with Brandon, though.
Oh, yeah, that was pretty funny. Did you see it?
He said, why do all new drugs sound like they're named by a focus group with Snoop Dogg and Fat Blunt, Sky Rizzy? Yeah, it does. Yeah. They're all weird. That's the most entertaining part of these. Well, that and listening to all the side effects afterwards.
Yeah. They tell you all of these things that these drugs are supposed to do. Then, basically saying everything and leading up to death. Yeah, sign me up. I want to take that because I could potentially die from taking that. Okay.
Yeah.
But you'd be surprised. People see that and they're like, well, this is my magic, pill. This is what I want. And they want it just because of watching the commercials on TV. It's really frustrating.
Yeah. And let me see. And there are definitely medications that are useful, helpful, and just absolutely necessary, right?
Yeah.
But it sure seems like it's just, it seems to me like it's a little bit outrageous. Like any little minor detail or any little minor problem you have, there's a pill for that. There's a pill for that.
Yes.
And because you're taking that pill, you're going to have to take another pill for that.
I like what Jammer said.
What did Jammer say here?
Do you see that? That's an awesome reference that we should have. That way, when we're digging through ransacked pharmacies, we'll know what's good.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I'll tell you what, if you do run across some crap like that, or hey, you know what? Maybe you're on a bug out. You're bugging out. Somebody's got some crap in their car, right?
Yeah.
Their pills. There's also Jace Medical, which Local Prepper has talked about, and they've actually contacted me, and I've never really dug into it. Jace Medical, I believe what they do is they will get, if you have prescription medications, they will help you get more of for a longer period of time, correct? Or you don't really know. I don't know why I'm asking you, correct, right?
I don't know. I guess so. Am I being tested?
Yeah. But Jace Medical allows you to do that, but that's for stuff you already have. And then Gabe was talking about, which if I am going to look into that a little bit more. But Diver was talking about, or Gabe was talking about, what is the best source for vet medication that is the same for humans? And I'm assuming that what he's talking about is the antibiotics, right?
Probably fish antibiotics.
Because I don't know that you're not going to inject me with any of your horse medications, right? I hope not.
No, I mean, I guess in a worst case scenario, you could. Penicillin is penicillin. I would think they just get a lot more of it.
No, I'm talking about not the antibiotics for horses. I'm talking about the other medications they take and stuff like that. And you kind of hesitated there too. So that's a little scary, but
yeah, I will. Because okay, so my one horse who Dale has named Jesse because he said he's a crackhead, like Breaking Bad. He is on a medication. It's an anti-inflammatory medication, and it's like $100 a month, I think, for his pills, his prescription. If I wouldn't take it for myself, let's say worst case scenario, if something happened, I'm not going to take that. His anti-inflammatory. I'll take my Advil or aspirin, but yeah, no, I'm not going to take the horse medicine. Now, people do, and people have said for years that the fish antibiotics are the same, but I don't know what the dosing would be.
Well, and I've got an article, but before I get into that, I want to, Gunpilot was saying, self-medicated Tractor Supply. There are situations where I think that would be useful. We don't have any fish by antibiotics. And there are a few reasons for that, because one, I don't think that there's enough a probability that we'd use them that we need to have them. You think about how much you take antibiotics these days anyway. It's really, I mean, probably 2 or 3 times in my life I have. So you're talking about something that expires in a year to 3 years, something like that. And I know it's medication. As far as expiring, what does that mean? Does it mean it's just not as potent? But there's that part of it as well. So you're looking at, if you're going to buy those, you're buying it once a year.
Yeah, and that's a lot of money, because I don't think fish antibiotics are cheap. I think they're pretty expensive.
Yeah, I haven't even. That's what I was going to say too. I am going to look into this in more detail and expand on this next week. As far as what to take or what, like Diver was talking about, what company is the most reputable. But that's the other thing with this, is that with these fish antibiotics, they're not FDA approved, and take that for whatever it is. You know, I don't necessarily trust the FDA to be the be all end all of anything. But at the same time, I don't trust these companies that could be selling snake oil to be the be all and all of anything either. So you don't know what's in the crap. And if it's made for aquariums, so you really do need to pay attention to what you get, what's in it. All of those things really matter. And you got to know what you're taking and what it's for.
Right. That's the biggest thing, is like, so like if you have an antibiotic that's a broad spectrum versus one that's just going to focus on something little, I mean, broad spectrum means it's effective on a lot of different bacterias versus something that's more focal. So like if you had an MRSA infection, which is a staph infection, and you took, let's say, Augmentin for it, which should help. Augmentin should be effective against a regular staph infection. But if you have MRSA, it's not going to do anything. So then you're taking that antibiotic, it's not going to help you, and you're going to get diarrhea on top of it. So then you could have the problem, you're going to get C. diff, which is like really bad diarrhea. It's stinky too, and it's very contagious. You don't want that. So it's just, you got to know what you're treating. Or if you have a Pseudomonas infection and you're taking something for it that's not going to be effective against it, you run into the same problem.
Yeah. Hey, did you mention your horse's name, Jesse?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Because Goatman is talking about Jesse's a great name, Jesse Pinkman. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's a crackhead.
Yeah.
And then the other one, did you mention Al Capone?
Yeah. Briefly.
Okay.
Yes.
See how good of a listener I am?
Mm-hmm. I know.
Hey, Local Prepper's in the chat, and go to his channel. I'm sure he's done a couple videos on Jace, and he's got some information on that as well. More information than I'll have, I'll say that. So, and that's one thing I was going to say about Jace is, I don't know. I want to get people's opinions on it that have actually used them, tried them, and things like that. You get all these YouTubers that have all these videos, and they get paid to talk about Jace and all that. And you don't know who to trust and all that. Local Prepper, I do, because I know him. I know he's not going to push snake oil just to make a few bucks. That's just not how he rolls. So, but a lot of these people you don't. That's why I want to, hear from people like him, hear from people in the preparedness community that have actually used it, got things done, all that stuff. So, and I was going to go I'm going to go to the article now. And I'm going to post the link in the chat if it's going to let me, because I don't have it in the show notes. I will put it in the show notes later, but I've got this article on fish antibiotics. And this is an old one. Like I said, I'm going to rewrite this article. I am going to, next time we have Lisa on, I'm going to get her one more time while she's on quote unquote vacation. And we're going to talk about a lot of medical stuff. But I want to research the best place to do it, when to do it, why to do it, how to do it, all that stuff. But this article goes over, and I do have it. We did do podcasts on this a while back too, but it goes over some of the different types of fish antibiotics and what they'd be used for. So I just want to go over this just generally. But like I said in the beginning, don't, this is SHTF type stuff. And I know it's a whole lot cheaper. Like you were talking about, it's a little bit expensive, but it's a whole lot cheaper than regular antibiotics. But at the same time, if you're going to be damaging yourself, it's just not worth it. So understand what you're doing. But you've got the Fish Flex, right, which is Keflex, or the generic name is Cephalaxin. Is that how you say that?
Yes, I want to hear you say all the names, the generic names.
I'll say the names, and then you go correct me and elaborate on them a little bit. So what is Cephalaxin or Keflex? It says here in the article, skin infections, urinary and tract infections.
Yes. It's like the first go-to antibiotic. A lot of times doctors will give people if they're like not quite sure what it is. I mean, I'm talking related to like when I see people with foot infections, that a lot of times they'll start them on Keflex.
Okay. And Keflex isn't one of the, I guess the ones that you think about all the time, right? But it is something. The side effects are diarrhea, which is probably not a good idea in an SHTF situation.
Yeah,
abdominal, stomach pain, headache, joint muscle pain.
Yeah.
So if you're taking that and it's not doing anything, you're just doing damage, right?
Right, and you have to be careful because look at the interactions: metformin and Lasix. So Lasix is makes you pee a lot. And then metformin is, people take that for diabetes or to lower your blood sugar. So if you're taking Keflex, then you can actually, it's going to interact with some of the other medications that you could potentially be taking.
Yeah. And the other thing you notice as I go through some of these, I'll go to the next one now, but a lot of these are infection, and some of them are the same damn thing. So it's really, it's really tough to nail down, even for a doctor, right?
Well, that's why you got to have a lot of time. Well, okay, this is going to sound really gross, but a lot of times I can tell what type of an infection somebody has, like in a foot wound, because I can tell by the way it smells. It's because staph has a distinct smell, strep has a smell, Pseudomonas has a nasty smell. And so you can kind of, use your best judgment by the way the wound looks. And that's about as far as my knowledge goes, is like wounds, foot wounds, non-healing, surgical incisions and things like that. But then you have to, a lot of times, even we do it, we get cultures and we do sensitivities on a swab to make sure that we have somebody on the right antibiotic.
Yeah. And you'll notice in a lot of these, like this one right here, it talked about urinary tract infection. So you're thinking, hey, Keflex for a urinary tract infection. Well, you look at ciprofloxacin. Is that it?
Cipro, yeah. Yeah, you said it right.
Ciprofloxacin. It seems like there's an extra syllable in there. Anyway, I'm thinking back to Brandon's Snoop Dogg comment. But this also says urinary tract infection. So, how would you go about figuring out which one is good? I mean, you have to figure out what type or why you have a urinary tract infection or something, right?
Yeah. And a lot of times nowadays people will have urinary tract infections and they're recurrent. So it's like the bacteria that's in the urinary tract itself is becoming resistant to the antibiotics that we've been treating UTIs with for years. And there's people that I see that they're on antibiotics for life because once they come off the antibiotics, they automatically get a UTI or urinary tract infection like almost instantly. Gotcha.
So devil's advocate here. Say it's SHTF. We are 6 months into the damn thing, and I've got some sort of urinary tract infection, or you do, or something like that. There's a bunch of different antibiotics. What would you? That's what I'm going to ask you. What would you? And this is sort of putting you on the spot. But what would you throw at me?
Keflex.
What would you make?
I do Keflex.
You do Keflex first,
yeah,
and then
pretty, I don't know what the word is.
Ciprofloxacin?
No, Cipro. Cipro I would say for something else, but Keflex is pretty benign. That's a good word. It doesn't have as many side effects to it, and it doesn't usually cause as much stomach upset. But typically, you have to take it 4 times a day, so that's kind of a bummer. But if you're taking it for a UTI, then you would take it for like 3 days.
A few of the other ones I've got in here is the Cipro. You got amoxicillin. You got penicillin, ampicillin.
Mm-hmm.
Any of those, penicillin, any of those ringing a bell? Sulfa?
Yeah. Sulfa, Bactrim, Septra. Yeah.
Sulfamethoxazole? Is that how you say that crap?
Drug, and then penicillin is a psyllin, obviously, and ampicillin, amoxicillin.
All right, so let's get back on track here. We got ciprofloxacin, which it prevent certain infections caused by bacteria. Do you know? I know this is maybe a little bit out of your wheelhouse, but what certain infections that talking about in this article? Is my article, and I have no idea.
I'm going to look. I'm going to use my drug guidebook and look.
While you're doing that, I'll just some of the side effects. The most common side effects is diarrhea. All of these. Taking antibiotics is going to give you the shits, basically.
Well, it is, because not only are you killing the bad bacteria, but you're killing the good bacteria in your gut too.
Yeah. It could include confusion. Yeah, you definitely don't want to give me Cipro. I'll be out of my damn mind. Chest pain or discomfort, dizziness, faintness, lightheadedness, and from getting up suddenly or sitting down. Nausea, vomiting, and skin rash. This does sound like a pill commercial. Anal leakage. You want to kill yourself or kill someone else, but other than that, you'll love it.
Other than that, it's fine. Okay,
listen to our song. It's fantastic.
This is a fluoroquinolone. Yeah. So Cipro is a different type of antibiotic versus like Keflex. So indications: it can treat ear infections, bacterial prostatitis, IV treatment of nosocomial pneumonia, typhoid fever. Oh, it can treat gonorrhea. That's good to know.
That could be a bigger issue in a situation like that than, depending if you're in one of those 15-minute cities, that might be a big issue.
Yeah. Then it also says prevention of anthrax following exposure to anthrax bacilla, prophylactic use in regions suspected of using germ warfare. Unlabeled uses, effective in patients with cystic fibrosis who have pulmonary exacerbations. So, I mean, that Cipro can help things that I didn't even know. And I learned it just by looking in this book.
Yeah, the drug guidebook. Plan B said great information. Have to bow out and pick you up on the replay. Thanks, Plan B. Awesome. Pete in the chat. Roaming prepper. He said, well, I came in an interesting part. Urinary tract infections.
Yeah.
Yeah. But your point right there was really good because you didn't know. I kind of put you on the spot, and you looked up all that information just from having that Lippincott drug guidebook.
Yeah.
For $10, just have that information, and if you need it, you need it. I'm not going to go over. I'll go over one or two more. We got to get out of here, but I do have this. I will have this link in the show notes, and I did post it in the chat. I don't know if it went through because YouTube sucks sometimes, but you've got ampicillin. Ampicillin is in the psyllin class of antibiotics called penicillins. They're used to treat bacterial infections. It seems like all of these are one sort of bacterial infection or another, right?
Well, yeah, because if you think about it, antibiotics are treating bacterial infections. So antibiotics will not treat a viral infection. It will only treat the bacterial infection.
So this has got influenza, gonorrhea, E. coli, streptococcus. Is that streptococci?
Yeah, streptococci. That's strep. Yeah. And some strains of staphylococci. And they come up with the names, the cocci, because they're in pairs or that's the way they look.
Gotcha. And in this article too, I'm not going to go over the rest of these, but you talk about how doctors go about, they do a test, right, with Petri dishes and stuff, and they figure out what might be the best antibiotic for something, right? And then they try that for a little while, and then you go back and they figure out, hey, that's not working, or isn't that how they do it?
what they do is it's called a culture and sensitivity. So you swab whatever it is that you want to swab to find out what kind of bacteria grows. Then they put that swab on a petri dish. Then they test it. That's the sensitivities. So they test it against different antibiotics to see what will kill it. So that's where you get the culture and sensitivities.
So there's a lot of educated, I mean, it's still a guess, but it's a lot of education in that guess that they're making. Plus the experiences they have, the school they went to, all that stuff. Yeah. That's why where it seems like, an antibiotic isn't going to kill you necessarily. Prolonged use and taking the wrong one, taking the wrong amounts, all that stuff could do a lot of damage. And when you're thinking about an SHTF situation, all those side effects and things like that, the diarrhea being in every single one of them that you're taking and issues with your bacteria and all that, you don't want that if you're in a disaster type situation and everything. So there are times when maybe it's absolutely necessary. Mm-hmm. But again, I'll go back to we don't stockpile it. And if you do, good for you. Do what you need to do. That's fine. But we don't stockpile it because it could do more damage than good. But at the same time, there are situations where I do think that if I've got somebody like you, or you could get a hold of your brother who is a doctor, mm-hmm. so he's got a little bit more, I guess, knowledge in that part of it than you do. I would trust you guys. I would pop pills if you guys told me to, but just on the average person, or if I was doing it myself, I'd have reservations because I wouldn't know what I was doing. But at the same time, there could be situations where you have to.
You have your drug book, Dale.
Yeah, you know how I am with reading, though.
Yeah.
I just scan it over and I'll look at the dosage and I'll be like, okay, or I'll take it and be like, I didn't read that part. The part that says
I didn't read that part where it said it's going to make pus come out of my butthole.
Yeah, I didn't read the anal leakage part. So there you go, Pete. Anal leakage and urinary tract infections. That's the two main things you're going to have to worry about in an SHTF situation.
That's right.
and I'm completely full. Well, I'm not going to say full of crap because if I had anal leakage, it wouldn't be full of crap. But don't listen to me on that one, everybody. I'm just joking. I'm not being serious about that. But I'll tell you what, the gonorrhea, sexually transmitted diseases, things like that, I'll bet you that would.
Yep.
For a large segment of the population.
Yep.
Wouldn't be for me. Wouldn't be for a lot of married people. Hopefully it wouldn't anyway. But Kevin, I know it wouldn't for you, but I'm talking about the people listening to the show.
Kevin said something about suturing that goes into.
Oh, Lord, I knew he was going to bring that up.
Unless you've been highly trained in all aspects of everything involved. Precisely, yes. Which is why I will never put sutures in anyone.
I'll tell you what, since that came up, we'll close the show on that with suturing because I know I'm going to get, just like I do every time we talk about this, I'm going to get a little bit of railroaded because I agree and disagree with you. I agree and disagree with Kevin and Brian and everyone else. I absolutely 100% agree that you should not be Rambo, and every time you get a little cut, it's time to suture the damn thing up.
Right.
And you should know absolutely what you're doing if you are going to do it. With me, it would take a massive cut for me to get sutures. And I've talked about this before. I would rather not suture something and I'd rather it heal up by itself. At the same time, I do understand the SHTF disaster aspect where there is no choice. If you've got a cut on your shoulder that is 5-6 inches long, mm-hmm. down to the bone, mm-hmm. that might be a situation. But at the same time, mm-hmm. like Kevin said, you got to know what the hell you're doing because you could do a lot of damage. If you sutured that thing up like Rambo with some fishing wire and, you get a pop can top and you start suturing that thing up and you act like it doesn't hurt.
You might be causing a little bit more problem than what you originally had in the first place.
Yeah. What's inside that wound that you just sealed up in there?
Look at you. I'm so proud of you. You're learning, Dale. I am so proud of you.
Oh, I've had all three of you bitching at me so many times over the years that I know. I get it. But I do think there are situations. I don't think it's something that preppers should just say, forget it. If there are classes where you can go learn how to suture and things like that, that's great. Take those classes, learn that. But at the same time, that should be that thing that you hope you never have to pull out of your pocket. Not the first, all of a sudden somebody gets a cut and you're like, oh, put them on the table. I know how to suture. I get them. That's a bad idea. And if that's me on the table, I'm fighting you.
Local prepper just said your best line, Dale.
Yeah, put some dirt on it. Yeah, rub some dirt on it. That's my thing. That's like with stitches. I've told this story before, but when I was a kid, my mom slammed the window and I was under it. It got in between my fingers right here, and I still have this wound that it's like a horseshoe wound because it sliced into my finger. But she wanted to take me to the doctor, and I was like, nope, I'm not getting stitches. It's not happening. And it popped open on me like 3 times over the next 2 months or something like that. But you just close it back up and eventually, it's all good now. I would be the same way unless it was this massive wound that you couldn't get to stop bleeding or, something. It would take those really tough circumstances. I'm purposely ignoring Kevin because I know he's probably talking shit about me.
Dale,
but
just remember.
I'm going to show one what's that?
Just remember, all bleeding stops eventually.
Yeah. Kevin did put this in here. There are a ton of better solutions for wound closures than sutures. Absolutely true. 100% there are. And these days there are a lot of options. I mean, steri strips, there's pressure dressings. I mean, all sorts of things that you could do. Sutures are a lot of time they're cosmetic, right?
Well, I think
So the wound heals nicely.
Yeah, but I mean, there are some instances like you have surgery, you have an abdominal wound, incision. If it's sterile, then I think you should probably have that sutured or stapled. But even then, when you have surgical incisions that are stapled or sutured, they still get infected. So, but I think stitches are good in certain scenarios, but if you're out on the trail or something and you hurt yourself and you've got this gash, it's probably best just because you don't know what's in it, like you said, Dale. So you may have a scar, but what do they say? Chicks dig scars. It's a war story to talk about.
Then you're going to have to get that gonorrhea antibiotic.
There you go. Oh, I like this. What All American Prepper said.
Yeah, I just had that up, but very good comment. And strongly recommend everyone take a Stop the Bleed course. Yep.
Yep.
Okay, so if your brother decided, if your brother said, "Hey, we need to suture that up," are you listening to him, or are you being like, "No"?
I'm like, "No, we're not."
If your brother tells me that, he's a damn doctor, Lisa, I'm listening to him. I'm gonna be like, all right, you know better.
He's an internal medicine doctor. He's not an emergency medicine. He's not a wound care person. So
true.
He can put on a wound vac. I've seen him put on a wound vac. He's pretty impressive. I don't think he would say suture it.
So he's not the right guy to get suture advice from anyway. Is that what you're saying?
No.
Yeah. Hey, and that's a good piece of advice. Just because somebody's a nurse, just because somebody's a doctor, doesn't mean they're all encompassing and going to be that perfect solution. Just because somebody's a surgeon doesn't mean that they're going to be good at diagnosing stuff. They can chop you up and chop you open and fix stuff, and it depends on what part of the body too, right?
Well, that's like, do you really want do you want to take advice from your orthopedic surgeon regarding your diabetes or your gout? Probably not.
Yeah. Well, they'd know more than I would, so I guess it would be hey, let me bounce this off you, buddy, and we'll see.
Maybe.
Ballpark figure. How bad do you think this is? Yeah. All right. What is this from Lazy Dog? They've admitted to adding crickets long-term healthcare in Canada.
Nice.
I have a feeling we're going to see crickets and a whole lot more crap coming up. Antibiotics in animals and things like that these days, all that stuff. So we didn't even talk about that with antibiotics, about how we're eventually going to be immune to all of it, or our bodies are going to be immune to it.
Yes, this is the one I wanted to show. It jumped on me.
The liberated lady said, had to wound vac once, even told the docs I had an infection because I could smell it.
Yep.
Oh, she had not.
Yeah.
She had two. She had a wound vac once.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
You've shown me that once. That's pretty. First of all, the wound is like intimidating looking, kind of nasty, deep looking, right? And then how you do the whole wound vac to me looks painful as hell. I mean, it's basically you're sucking crap in there, right?
We put the foam inside the wound bed, but for I'd say 90% of the people that I put wound vacs on, they have neuropathy, so they can't feel it. So then you put that foam in, and then you cover it, and then turn the suction on, and it suctions at 125 millimeters of mercury, like continuous suction. So they say they can feel the pressure, but I would think that would be really painful because that foam is like sucking down against the wound.
Is that something that would be useful in a disaster and emergency for the average person, or something that is more of a medical specialty type thing?
Specialty, yeah.
So don't worry about wound vacs?
Don't worry about wound vacs. Even though a lot of wound care people say don't do wet to dry dressings, I've actually had really good luck with wet to dry dressings. That would be more important to learn than how to do a wound vac.
Go into that. We are going to end it after this, but go into that. What is a wet to dry dressing?
A wet to dry dressing
and
is
supplies.
You have a wound and you're going to put a dressing on it. When you put the dressing on, the dressing is wet. Then you wait like 24 hours. So you change the dressing once a day or more if it's a heavily draining wound. The goal is to have that dressing that you put on be dry when you remove it. And then that wicks out all of the yucky stuff. So you have a nice, pretty wound.
Hey, Kyle, long time no see. I don't even know if you remember Kyle, but I do. It has been a very long time. Nice to see you, Kyle. So I was reading that comment. So what would people need? Maybe what we'll do is next time we have you on, I know you have one hand, so we can't really do any demos or anything like that.
I have two hands.
Well, it'd be kind of hard for you to do. You got your arms strapped to your body, so you basically it goes where you go. But maybe we'll figure out something. We'll get some pictures or something like that, and we can go over a couple different types of.
Let's do dressings, yeah.
Yeah, different types of dressings. That'll be a fun show. And it seems like when we talk about medical crap, you could just go on and on and on. And so maybe we'll do that. And maybe we'll save your alien thing for next time as well, because you've got a few more weeks left. So I think in like 2 weeks, we'll probably have you back on. I'm going to have Kevin on in a little bit too, because we're going to talk about some alternative energy solar stuff. Nice. And I'm sure he's going to talk. He's not going to be able to help himself talking about sutures and stuff like that, because that's part of his wheelhouse as well. So,
yep.
Yeah, we'll have to do that. We'll get into a lot of detail about that. If anybody's got any comments, any questions, anything they want to ask Lisa, because she'll be on in a couple weeks, let me know. Send me an email to dgood@survivalistprepper.net or dale@thebugOutlocation.net, things like that. Those two right there. Or if you're in the group, you can just message me there and get a hold of me, and we'll figure out we'll have a cool show, a fun show next time with Lisa and see how functional your arm is and all that. Maybe we'll film some footage beforehand. So, but with that, everyone, I appreciate y'all joining in tonight. A lot of people here. Somebody in the Facebook group said, "Keep him straight, Lisa." Facebook sucks, and they don't let your name come through unless you let it. So I'm not real sure who that is, but it could be one of like 6 people. So I'm not going to even guess. But Gun Pilot, thanks. He said, "Great show tonight." What did Jammer said? "How's Dale taking care of you, Lisa?" Yeah, awesome. How's Dale doing, Lisa?
Dale is an excellent caregiver. He has not even flinched. Anytime I've asked him to do anything, he's like, okay. Dale is awesome. He's a very good nurse.
Good answer. Now I don't have to break your other arm.
That's right.
Local prepper, Jim, thank y'all. At any rate, we are going to get out of here, everyone. I appreciate y'all joining in tonight. A lot of people, very cool, fun conversation. I appreciate you coming on, Lisa. I know everybody else does too. So, but with that, everyone, take care and prepare. And we will have Lisa on in a couple weeks, and I'll see y'all next week.
Goodbye.